People often think the best way to deal with a narcissist is to disappear, to go no contact and vanish from their life. And yes, that can help. It protects you and gives you space. But there is something that destroys them on a much deeper level. Emotional detachment breaks their control because it cuts the lifeline they use to feel powerful. Their control doesn't come from physical power or real authority. It comes from emotional manipulation. They feed on your reactions, your anger, sadness, guilt, frustration, even your love. Every time you react, you confirm to them that they still matter, that they still have power over your inner world. When you detach emotionally, you stop being a source of supply. For them, that is like losing air. They can no longer draw energy from your pain. And that is when their fake sense of superiority starts to fall apart. Emotional detachment doesn't mean you stop caring about yourself or other people. It means you stop playing their emotional games. You stop trying to prove your worth to someone who will never truly see it. You stop defending yourself against lies and accusations that were only meant to confuse you and keep you stuck. Detachment is the moment you stop reacting and start staying grounded. You no longer move to the rhythm of their manipulation because you finally see the truth. The only reason they create drama is to keep you emotionally hooked. For a narcissist, emotional chaos is home. They need it because it keeps you dizzy. If you are angry, you are still involved. If you are hurt, you are still connected. If you are explaining yourself, they still have influence. But when you reach calm detachment, when their words no longer cut and their silence no longer scares you, you become someone they cannot control. They cannot understand how a person who once cared so much and fought so hard for their approval can suddenly become calm and unmoved by their behavior. This type of detachment is powerful because it shows growth. It shows that you see the pattern clearly now, that you understand the cycle of guilt, blame, and emotional traps they use to keep you dependent. They will accuse you of being cold, selfish, or unloving the moment you stop reacting. What they are really showing is fear, the fear of losing control. The more you stay centered and refuse their emotional bait, the more desperate and frantic they become. Emotional detachment is not built in a day. It takes effort to break the habit of reacting. You start to understand that your emotions are valuable and should not be used as weapons against you. You learn that silence is not weakness. It can be strategy. You learn to watch without absorbing. The narcissist may keep pushing, testing, and provoking, trying to find a crack in your calm. But once you stop letting them control your inner state, they end up shouting into emptiness. What hurts them most is that your detachment reflects their own inner emptiness back to them. Narcissists depend on other people to feel real, because deep down, they do not have a stable sense of self. When you detach, you force them to face their emptiness without distraction. They cannot stand this feeling, so they may increase their tactics, trying anger, guilt, pity, or nostalgia to get any reaction from you. If you keep your emotional ground, if you remain steady and unshaken, you show them something they cannot understand: real self-control. They will call your calm arrogance or cruelty because they do not understand emotional independence. For them, power means control. Your detachment shows that real power can exist in peace. When you no longer fear losing them, when you no longer feel the need to explain yourself, you take away the only weapon they had, your emotions. They cannot manipulate what they cannot reach. Emotional detachment becomes an invisible shield. Their tricks and games cannot break. Once you master this, something shifts inside you. You stop seeking closure from them because you realize closure was never theirs to give. You stop expecting empathy from someone who is not capable of it. You begin to protect your energy, your growth, and your clarity. The narcissist becomes irrelevant not because you hate them, but because they no longer define your emotional reality. You start living by your own values instead of reacting to their mood. That is when real freedom begins, and for them, this change is unbearable. They depend on your predictable reactions. They study your triggers and use your compassion against you. When you respond with calm instead of chaos, they lose their map. They cannot manipulate what they cannot predict. Their guilt trips, gaslighting, and attempts to drag you back into old drama start to fail because you no longer respond in the old way. Detachment is not coldness. It is clarity. It is knowing that your emotions are sacred, and they should not be tied to someone who twists them for power. You begin to act from logic instead of impulse, from inner stability instead of emotional storms. That changes everything. They once saw you as easy to move, easy to upset, easy to guilt. Now they see someone who does not bend to their emotional theater. When you reach this level of composure, you do not need to announce your strength. Your silence speaks for you. Your calm becomes your armor. They feel powerless because every attempt to trigger you becomes a reminder that they no longer have control. They cannot feed on your pain anymore, and that hurts them more than your absence. Indifference is even more powerful than silence. Silence can still hold tension and expectation. Indifference means your emotional investment is gone. It is permanent freedom. It is the state where the narcissist no longer holds any emotional importance in your life. Being ignored wounds them, but being forgotten destroys them. Silence can mean maybe someday, but indifference means never again. Indifference is when you stop caring, stop analyzing, stop wondering what they think or feel. Their presence no longer decides your mood. Their name no longer triggers emotion. That is when they truly lose their grip. Narcissists live for emotional impact, whether they make you adore them or hate them. As long as they stir strong feelings, they feel powerful. Indifference takes that away. You stop attaching meaning to their actions. You stop looking for hidden messages in their words or silence. You see it all for what it is, noise that does not deserve your focus. They cannot tolerate that. They cannot exist without an emotional audience. When you reach real indifference, your mind shifts. You stop seeing them as a force you must resist and start seeing them as irrelevant to your future. You stop replaying arguments in your head. You stop defending yourself in imaginary conversations. You stop dreaming of revenge or justice. Instead, you focus on your own life. You grow, you heal, you move forward. This is devastating to them because they depend on you staying emotionally stuck, circling around the past. The more you move on, the more you show their lack of growth. Your peace becomes proof of their failure. Indifference is not passive. It is a choice. It is choosing to protect your energy and refusing to be used. It takes discipline to reach the point where you no longer feel the need to explain anything to them. You accept that they would not understand even if you tried. You also stop caring about how I see you because you finally understand their opinion was never based on truth. It was based on control. Indifference rises when you stop chasing understanding from someone who builds confusion on purpose. You stop hoping they will see your worth because you finally see it yourself. Their power depends on emotional dependency. They create emotional highs and lows to make you addicted to their approval. They want you to wait, hope, and react. Indifference breaks that addiction. You stop waiting for the text, the apology, the recognition. You realize it will never come, and you stop needing it. The emotional hunger that they use to control you disappears. That is why indifference terrifies them. It means their control is gone for good. They may try to pull you back into caring by using pity, anger, jealousy, or memories. They might say you are cold or heartless. But indifference does not argue. It just stays calm. They cannot manipulate calm energy because their whole strategy depends on stirring your feelings. When that no longer works, they have no leverage. Indifference also breaks the illusion that your world revolved around them. They wanted to be the center of your thoughts and feelings. When you become indifferent, you destroy that fantasy. You prove that you can live, grow, and find joy without them. You do not seek revenge because revenge means they still matter. You simply outgrow them, and that is the strongest defeat of all. Indifference comes from healing, not hate. It is the result of understanding their pattern and choosing peace over chaos. You stop taking their behavior personally and start seeing it as who they are, not a reflection of your value. This emotional neutrality ends the power struggle. They need someone to feel small so they can feel big. Indifference removes that imbalance. You stop giving them admiration or resentment. They get nothing. They only feel real when they see themselves reflected in someone's emotions. When you give them nothing, they feel erased. Indifference is quiet strength. It doesn't scream or defend. It shows in your boundaries, your calm, and your choices. They feel it, and it threatens their entire identity. They may try grand gestures, guilt, or emotional blackmail to get your attention again. But when you are indifferent, you do not flinch. You know that words without action mean nothing. You know that manipulation without access has no power. When you stop measuring your worth by how they see you, their whole system collapses. They cannot control what does not seek approval. They cannot dominate what does not react. Indifference becomes your armor and your proof that you have changed. Your success also destroys their illusion of superiority. Their entire identity is built on the belief that they are better and more capable than others. They need to feel above you, not by real effort, but through manipulation. When your life starts improving without them, it ruins the fake story they told themselves. They cannot stand seeing someone they once tried to control now standing strong, independent, and fulfilled. Your success forces them to face the truth, that their superiority was always a lie and only survived because you believed in it. They never wanted you to grow. They wanted you to depend on them. They praised you when you were beneath them, when your effort made them look good. But the moment you stand on your own, they feel threatened. Your progress reminds them of what they are not: disciplined, resilient, and authentic. Your success is not only about money or status. It is your confidence, your peace, your emotional freedom. These are wins they cannot copy. When you succeed, you break the silent contract that you would doubt yourself so they could feel important. You stow asking for their permission. You start trusting yourself. They cannot handle seeing that kind of self-belief in you because it exposes their insecurity. They needed you to believe you were nothing without them. Your growth proves that was a lie. Your achievements humiliate them. They see your success as betrayal because in their mind, you were meant to stay beneath them. They may dismiss your accomplishments, call them luck, or minimize your work. They might mock your goals or pretend your success is small. This is not just jealousy. It is self-protection. If they admit your success is real, they must admit they misjudged you. And narcissists cannot stand being wrong. Success does not just challenge how they see you. It shakes their whole world. They believe in power through dominance, not equality. When you rise, you destroy that structure. You become equal or even surpass them. And this is unbearable because it brings up the same feelings of inadequacy they have always tried to run from. They may pretend to support you with fake praise or try to connect themselves to your success, saying they always knew you would make it. But behind this mask is anger and panic that they lost control of the story. They need to be the center of every story. Your success pushes them out of that center. You become a mirror of their failure, and they hate that reflection. Your success also highlights your resilience. They remember how many times they doubted you, insulted you, or tried to hold you back. Yet you rose anyway. That truth cuts deeper than any fight. They do not understand real growth because their identity is built on performance and imitation. You grow through effort, honesty, and inner work. Your evolution shows their stagnation. Your success doesn't even need to be huge. Sometimes your peace, self-respect, and quiet joy are enough to disturb them. When they see you calm and happy, it ruins their belief that they still have power over you. Once they see you thriving, they may try to come back. They may act curious or caring, but deep down, they just want to see if they still matter. They want to know if they can still affect your feelings. If you stay unaffected and keep growing without them, it devastates them more. Your success becomes proof that they needed you more than you ever needed them. They depended on your energy, your empathy, and your attention. You discovered you could thrive without any of that. They may try to smear your name, twist your story, or criticize your strength to feel in control again. But they wouldn't need to attack you if they truly felt superior. Your growth is a language they cannot twist. They can argue with your words, but they cannot erase your progress. It is not about revenge. It is about freedom. Every step you take without them tears down the false story they built about you. Your progress becomes living proof that they were wrong. Inner peace also exposes their chaos. Narcissists live in mental storms. They are driven by insecurity, envy, and the constant need for validation. They keep people emotionally reactive because chaos makes them feel powerful. When you find inner peace, you step out of that storm. You stop reacting to their silent treatment, their moods, their games. You stop matching their highs and lows. Your calm becomes something they cannot stand to see. Your peace shows them what they do not have. They can fake charm and confidence, but they cannot fake real inner calm. Their mind is always restless, always searching for drama or attention. When you reach emotional balance, they feel naked. Your composure quietly reveals their instability. They cannot understand how you can stay so steady when they live on emotional roller coasters. Peace is powerful because it means you master. your own emotions. You no longer chase revenge or closure. You no longer let their behavior decide your mood. You finally see that their chaos was never your job to fix. They need tension to feel in control. Peace cuts that cord. It takes away the drama they use as fuel. Your calm also breaks the lies they tell about you. They may call you unstable or overly emotional to justify their actions. But when you stay calm, their story loses power. Your stability proves they were the chaotic one. Your inner peace is a threat because it means you are emotionally independent. They can no longer control you with guilt or fear. They cannot push your buttons like before. Your calm becomes a wall their chaos cannot cross. They will try to disturb your peace once they notice it. They will bring up painful memories, make small hurtful comments, or try to drag you into old fights. But the more you heal, the easier it becomes to see through these patterns. You stop taking their behavior personally. You see the pattern, not a personal attack on your worth. What makes peace so painful to them is that they know they cannot reach it. They depend on other people's reactions to feel alive. You no longer give them that. Your peace reminds them of the emptiness they are trying to escape. Inner peace changes the power dynamic forever. When you stop reacting, they lose control. They cannot provoke, predict, or use you the same way. You become emotionally invisible to them. They may panic, try to get your attention, or pretend they have changed, but it is rarely real. They simply want their emotional supply back. Your calm denies them that. Peace says, you no longer have access to me, even without words. Your reactions used to feed them. Now your serenity leaves them with nothing. They try to start fires, but your calm is like rain. Their attempts fade out. Your self-respect also breaks their grip. Narcissists slowly wear down your sense of worth through criticism, blame, and shifting rules. The more you doubt yourself, the easier it is for them to control you. Self-respect changes everything. It shifts your focus from needing their approval to trusting your own inner truth. When you start honoring your boundaries and listening to yourself, their influence falls apart. They want you unsure, so you will lean on them. Self-respect cuts that tie. It gives you the power to say no without guilt, to walk away without apologizing, and to refuse to be defined by their lies. Self-respect is dangerous to them because it brings certainty. A person who respects themselves does not beg, does not chase apologies, and does not lower their standards just to keep someone. Every time you say, "This is not okay," you force them to see their lack of integrity. That makes them angry because it shows how much they relied on your willingness to shrink. They test your limits, push your boundaries, and make you feel guilty for having needs. Every time you betray yourself to keep the peace, they gain more control. Self-respect reverses this. It is the quiet decision to value your dignity more than their opinion. Once you reach that level, you stop responding to manipulation the same way. You stop trying to prove your innocence when they accuse you. You stop over-explaining your feelings. You stop trying to earn conditional love. Self-respect cannot be faked. It is built through reflection and healing. It is the deep knowing that your worth does not shrink because someone refuses to see it. When you no longer absorb their insults as truth, they lose control. They can call you selfish or arrogant, but those words stop hurting because you know who you are. You no longer need to fight every false story they tell. You trust your own truth. They use shame as a weapon, making you feel bad for setting boundaries or having needs. But when you truly respect yourself, shame loses its power. You stop carrying guilt that doesn't belong to you. You stop explaining your limits to people who only want to break them. Self-respect makes you calmer and less reactive. You respond with steady energy instead of panic. That composure drives them crazy because they can no longer pull you into emotional chaos. They rely on your doubt. When you become steady, they lose their main tool. They will try love bombing you, playing victim, or faking remorse to see if your boundaries move. But once you see the pattern, you cannot unsee it. Self-respect is not arrogance. It is living in line with your values. It is saying, I will not abandon myself to keep you comfortable. They cannot tolerate that because it removes their leverage. Your self-respect also changes how you deal with pain. Instead of chasing them for closure, you give closure to yourself. Instead of begging them to understand you, you accept that some people cannot. You choose peace over endless explanation. They want you reactive and unsure. Self-respect makes you steady and clear. Every time you choose dignity instead of reacting, you break another piece of their control. Thriving without them is their final defeat. Their power depends on your dependence. They want you to believe you cannot live without them. They want to be the center of your emotional world. When you start thriving without them, building a life full of purpose, joy, and self-respect, it destroys the illusion they created. Your growth shows they were never as important as they believed. They told themselves they were the reason for your progress, that they made you better. Your success without them proves that false. Your independence shows how little power they really had once you took back your heart and mind. Thriving is not about revenge. It is about evolution. It is about realizing your life is bigger than their story. They built emotional dependency through reward and punishment. When you step outside that cycle and still grow, you prove they don't own your future. They expect you to crumble. They imagine you stuck, missing them and unable to move on. When you heal and become stronger, it shocks them. Narcissists see themselves as irreplaceable. When you build a better life without them, you break that fantasy. Your peace, your self-trust, and your joy hurt them more than your anger ever did. They wanted to leave a permanent wound. When you rebuild yourself, you prove that what they broke can be repaired. They may try to come back when they see your progress. They may pretend to care or support you, but underneath they want to see if they still have power. When you answer with calm distance or not at all, it confirms what they fear most. You have outgrown them. Your thriving redefines strength. It is not about fighting them. It is about no longer needing them in any way. Your life no longer spins around their presence or absence. You finally live for yourself. This is something they will never fully understand, because true freedom requires self-awareness and responsibility, the very things they avoid. Their worst nightmare is not that you hate them, it is that you stop thinking about them at all. When you live with peace, stability, and self-respect, they fade into the background. They become just a chapter in your story, not the whole book. Your pain was real, but it is not your identity. Being hurt by a narcissist can shake your sense of self. You may get stuck in shame, confusion, and self-doubt. You start asking, what did I do wrong? Or why wasn't I enough? And slowly the pain starts to feel like who you are. That is the danger, letting their behavior become the mirror you use to see yourself. They gaslight you, blame you, and withdraw affection until you question your own mind. Over time, the wound whispers lies. You are broken. You are unlovable. You are weak. Those are not truths. They are echoes of the abuse. Healing begins when you separate the pain from your identity. You can say, yes, I was betrayed. Yes, I was manipulated. Yes, I was deeply hurt. But you also say, their behavior does not define my worth. You are not their rejection. You are not the confusion they left you in. You are bigger than what they did. Your wound is something you carry for a while, but it is not who you are. Emotional wounds are invisible, but you feel them in the way you hesitate, in the way you shrink, in the way you doubt your voice. Healing is the process of slowly reclaiming that voice. You begin to see that what they did came from their chaos, not your lack of value. You start to understand that your sensitivity, your love, and your loyalty were not weaknesses. They were the very signs of your strength. In time, your story shifts. You are no longer just the person who was hurt. You become the person who healed, who learned, who rose, and that, more than anything, is what a narcissist can never take from you.